Welcome to our community chat, where today we're going to be meeting with Dr. Baroncelli and Dr. Fagiolini to talk about opportunities to participate in research this year. And I'll also start the chat with just a few updates from ACD about research and various other topics. So funding our research, we have a research-focused fundraiser at the end of every year. And this year we raised $191,000. And we had a promise pledge that had committed $125,000 if we met our goal of 200. We didn't quite make our goal, but they very kindly have committed 50,000, and we're really grateful for that donation because it's going to help in many things this year, including our fellowship awards that we shared last week with our newsletter. If you didn't get the newsletter, go to our website, click on news, and enter your email so you get subscribed to that and get all those updates. But we've shared the basics of who has received this award and what universities they're at. And then early next week, there'll be a news release that goes out with all of the details of what is their project, what are they working on, and some quotes from these folks so you can get to know them better. But I'm excited to share that these are our 5 fellowship awards. They have various focuses from gene therapy to focused ultrasound technology to organoids and all around a really great diversity of focus between AGAT and GAMT and CTD this year. So we're really excited to share those details next week. And we also awarded a Uplifting Athletes grant to support further research by Dr. Charles Kuntz. He's in the lab of Dr. Jonathan Schlabach at Purdue University, and he is also included in that news release next week, so we'll share more information there. You may have been seeing some posts about our ACD board member and CTD dad, Jeff Allen. He's been competing in the Beast Games television show, and he is posting a lot of information about his everyday life with a child with CTD and really raising a lot of awareness for our community. He has a little YouTube channel you could follow. But mostly I just want to emphasize that this is a great opportunity for us to share something that's relevant to people around us and for them to like make that bigger connection and to get more and more awareness of creatine deficiencies, thanks to him putting himself out there and sharing his very personal story. So it's a great time to raise awareness, share posts, like posts. You know, this is something that is really getting a lot of attention. So we're all hoping to see that continue to grow. And then the walk this year is June 21st. It's our 10th walk. So we have a very cute 10-year logo already to go. This will be our walk shirt this year. And if you're not familiar with the zebra, the February is actually the International Rare Disease Day month. And this is a little, you'll see zebras a lot related to rare disease. And it's because the common theme among doctors is don't overthink it. If you hear hoofbeats, look for the horse. And in rare diseases, we're not the horse. We're a zebra. It may sound like a horse, but you got to look closer and find the creatine deficiency, right? So this will be our logo this year. And next month, you'll start seeing opportunities to sign up a team. If you've never done a walk, they're fun, they're great, and they're all sizes. It can be you and your family and taking some pictures, posting on social media, wearing your shirts, or you can invite your whole community. Some of our walks are getting close to 200 people, and we have families walking all around the world in different countries, and some of our sister organizations host walks and will donate to research from their efforts. So it's just a great day for us all around the world to see one another and to support ACD in another way. So our next community chat is March 7th at the same time as today. We'll be talking about creatine deficiency diagnosis, inheritance, and mosaicism. And we'll be hearing from Dr. Sarah Young and Dr. Jenny Goldstein. So if that should be on your calendar. I'm sorry, 1 minute, please. Okay. And we'll be talking especially about females, how females are diagnosed, MRS, and all of these questions that often come up in our support group. We'll be addressing those. So this will be a really important one to try to attend live so you can ask questions if you have questions here. So now I will be turning the time over to Dr. Laura Baroncelli and Michela Fagiolini, and they'll be discussing fNIRS.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, depending on your time zone. And thank you, Heidi, for the warm introduction. It is a pleasure to be here today, 1 year after our first meeting in Boston about this project, and I'm truly excited to share with you the advancement of this project, which, as you can see, as you remember, aims to develop innovative neuroimaging tools for creating deficiency syndromes. The idea is to accelerate therapeutic development for creating deficiency syndromes with these tools. I'm also honored to be joined by Professor Michela Fagiolini from Boston Children's Hospital, whose expertise has been invaluable to this work. And together today we're going to walk you through our progresses, the promising directions we are exploring, and how you can be part of this journey. So thank you for being here, and let's get started. Yeah, if I can, okay. So first thing first, what is the main purpose of our project? As you know, one of the biggest challenges in creatine transporter deficiency and GAM deficiency is the lack of reliable biomarkers to objectively assess brain function and measure responses to treatment. Without this kind of quantifiable measures evaluating the efficacy of potential therapies, both in the preclinical and clinical settings, remains a significant hurdle. So to address these, clinicians and researchers have been working hard to standardize clinical scales for assessing phenotype severity in CTD and GAM patients, and the contribution of ACD in this field has been particularly relevant, as highlighted by this recently published paper in medRxiv. However, despite these advancements, clinical scales still retain some subjectivity. And additionally, we also have MR spectroscopy that can measure creatine levels in the brain and also other tissues. But again, this is good for measuring creatine levels, of course, but this technique doesn't provide insights into the brain circuit function. And moreover, in many cases, it requires sedations, which can pose some challenges for children with atypical development. So this is where basically our project comes in. Our primary goal is to identify an unbiased, quantitative, and non-invasive biomarker, and of course, reliable biomarker that can complement the existing clinical rating scale. A tool like this would not only enhance our ability to evaluate new therapies, but also provide a deeper and more comprehensive understanding of disease progression and treatment impact. So in this framework, one promising approach for identifying reliable biomarkers can come from EEG, a tool that you already know very well because it is routinely used during clinical follow-up of your children. And recently, we have observed that the amplitude, in particular of alpha and theta oscillations, two distinct brain wave patterns that can be easily measurable with standard EEG, differ significantly from between CTD individuals and neurotypical controls. And notably, this finding is consistent both in the mouse model that you can see here. Here you have in red the idea that in neurotypical control, the amplitude of these oscillations is higher compared to CTD individuals. This is true both in the mouse model, but also in human patients, suggesting that these EEG patterns could serve as a reliable biomarker for CTD in both the preclinical and clinical settings. This discovery for sure marked a significant step forward in CTD research, But our analysis so far has been limited to a small cohort of 5 patients diagnosed at the Stella Maris Institute, which is a neuropediatric hospital close to Pisa, where I have the opportunity to collaborate with clinicians expert in CCDS. So to validate and strengthen these findings, we are now planning to expand this study to include a larger patient population. But that said, it is also true that developing additional biomarkers remains a critical priority. And because a broader set of objective and quantifiable biomarkers will not only improve our ability to monitor CCDS disorder, but will also enhance our capability, as I said before, to assess the response to potential treatment. So given that the disruption of energy metabolism is a key disease mechanism in CCDS, assessing cerebral blood flow and oxygen consumption provides a sensitive readout for functional alterations in neural circuits, because basically this offers a new insight in neurovascular coupling, which provides a complementary information about brain activity respect to what we have found with EEG. One promising technique in this framework is the imaging of intrinsic optical signal, which is a non-invasive method that basically uses red light to penetrate the skull and measure transient changes in hemoglobin oxygenation and local blood flow in active brain tissues. And since the visual processing is a well-established indicator of overall brain function, we investigated whether visually evoked iOS responses can be altered in CCDS mutant mice. And here you have basically our key findings in the animal model. First of all, we have found that evoked hemodynamic responses in the visual cortex can distinguish CTD mutant from wild-type mice at different ages, and more specifically, the absolute amplitude of iOS signal is significantly higher in knockout mice compared to wild type, basically making iOS a potential predictive biomarker for CTD. Here in this image, you can clearly see that the evoked signal in the knockout mice appears darker compared to wild types. Then we also recorded heterozygous females, and here, interestingly, we found that the amplitude of the signal is basically intermediate between those recorded in wild type animals and knockout males. And this suggests that the hemodynamic the level of hemodynamic alterations has a strong correlation with CRT expression and creatine levels. More recently, we had also the opportunity to measure cortical responses using iOS in the GAMT mouse model. And while these data are still very preliminary, as you can see, we observed that similar to CTD, iOS amplitude again is higher in knockout, the absolute amplitude is higher in knockout mice compared to wild-type controls. Importantly, in our in our preclinical project, we also found that iOS signals strongly correlate with the behavioral performance in mice, and in particular, the higher the iOS amplitude was, the poorer was the performance of animals in cognitive and motor task, suggesting that degree of hemodynamic alteration could be predictive of the symptom severity. And finally, we also found that iOS is responsive to therapeutic intervention. For example, in our project assessing in the preclinical model the efficacy of the therapeutic efficacy of cyclocreatine, we found that the amplitude of hemodynamic responses in knockout animals treated with cyclocreatine was significantly lower compared to untreated knockout mice, meaning that iOS could serve as a sensitive biomarker not only for disease progression, but also for treatment efficacy. So altogether, these results highlight that iOS can be a powerful tool for monitoring neural circuit function in CCDS and assessing the impact of potential emerging therapy. More recently, since we are trying to develop a gene therapy approach for CTD, we're using iOS also to assess the functioning of brain circuits in animals treated with our viral vector. And basically, we found the same, that the hemodynamic alteration is responsive to our treatment. So this is a further confirmation that iOS could be a very good biomarker in the preclinical setting. But now, of course, we should explore the translational potential of our biomarker. And I can tell you that this is very high because there is this technique called functional near-infrared spectroscopy that is basically enable us to perform the same measurements in humans, including children, that we have performed in mice with iOS. And this, of course, significantly broadens the clinical relevance of this biomarker. In fact, at the Stella Maris Institute, we have recently acquired an fNIRS device. We have set up the system there. You can see that the system is portable, so can be moved very well in different locations, but our lab is based at the Stella Maris and successfully conducted recordings in adult volunteers as well as children. During this phase of the experiment, we quickly realized that the traditional visual stimulation paradigm that uses a black and white checkerboard and the gray baseline is not engaging for humans, like its success for anesthetized mice. So to make the experience more engaging for our subjects, we developed an innovative approach by combining the classic paradigm with the checkerboard and gray baseline with a commercial cartoon. And then we compared the responses evoked by this more engaging cartoon-based stimulus with those generated by the standard checkerboard paradigm, demonstrating that the cartoon-based stimulus actually reliably activates the visual cortex. Now let me show you how the new stimulus looks like. Basically, it's a grayscale cartoon with the audio turned on. And even when the checkerboard appears, our blending strategy ensures that the characters and the storyline are still visible, allowing you to follow the action without losing a bit. So I'm sure that you'll agree with me that watching this is far more engaging than just staring at the gray screen for minutes. And importantly, we also found that the checkerboard stimulus consistently evokes reliable visual responses regardless of the cartoon or the video used for the subject entertainment. So this means basically that you can use any video clip you prefer for conducting this experiment. And this, of course, is another factor that increases the compliance of potential subjects for this experiment. So leveraging on this powerful tool, we began performing fNIRS experiments in CTD patients, starting with a cohort of 11 individuals diagnosed at the Stella Maris Institute. Unfortunately, 3 patients were excluded due to family or logistic problems, and 1 was lost at the follow-up because the parents decided to discontinue traveling to Pisa. Of the remaining 7 patients, we have successfully recorded data from 5 of them, and 2 more are still pending. However, I also need to tell you that we found a significant variability in the ages at which the recordings were conducted. And upon analysis, we noticed that this age variability led to a high degree of signal variation, introducing a potential confounding factor in our data. So to address this, we had made the decision to analyze the participants separately by age group, those below 18 years of age that you can see in this slide, and those of 18 years of age and older. Although, of course, this reduced even more the overall sample size of our experiment. So here you can see the response to the checkerboard stimulus in red for CTD patients and green for controls, in response to the checkerboard stimulus compared to the gray baseline, which is in gray for both groups. And this is for the young group, for the, let's say, children under 18 years of age. These graphs clearly demonstrate that the cartoon-based stimulus effectively elicits a reliable response because you can see that there is a positive deflection of total and oxygenated hemoglobin and, let's say, a negative deflection of the oxygenated hemoglobin, which is basically the signal that we expect to see in the visual cortex in response to the checkerboard stimulus. So these results basically showcase the potential to engage the CTD population and produce meaningful results. And here you can see basically the same comparison in adults, showing that the cartoon-based stimulus also elicits a reliable response in this group. And here you have the direct comparison of the evoked signals between CTD subjects and controls. So these are, of course, preliminary results, but in children are very promising, showing a higher response in CTD patients compared to age-matched controls. In contrast, the data in adults are less clear, likely due to the lower quality of the recordings, but still suggest a trend toward an increased response. So these results, of course, are not conclusive yet due to the very small sample size, but they encourage to do some further data collection. And we also aim to expand the study to include GAMT patients, but unfortunately, we were unable to recruit families in Italy. And for these reasons, we decided to launch a multi-site study to explore the potential of the fNIRS biomarker. This study initially was funded by the European Program for Rare Disorder and ICCTR in the US, and brings together several key partners, ACD, of course, Michela Fagiolini's group at Boston Children's Hospital, the group of Danny Porter at the NIH, the Extraordinaire Association in France, and the group of Aurore Curie at the Hospice Civil de Lyon. And this collaborative effort is definitely crucial for achieving a sufficient sample size to validate the clinical relevance of our biomarker. So now I'd like to hand over the presentation to Michela, who will take you through how this project began and evolved in the US, and highlight the pivotal contribution of ACD in making this possible. So Michela, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Laura, and thank you so much, Heidi, and everybody who's here tonight for this meeting. I'm quite happy and proud to be part of the family, of the ACD family. It's a journey that started thanks to Laura from a very simple conversation and evolved in a much, much bigger adventure. And every day is a discovery and some very, very nice thing. So I'm Michela Fagiolini. I'm an associate professor of neurology at Boston Children's Hospital. I work on rare neurodevelopmental disorders, and until last year, I did not work on ACD disorders, but on Rett syndrome and CDKL5 deficiency disorders. I do preclinical work, but also clinical, and mainly utilizing EEG and visual evoked potential. So next. So one day with Laura, we were discussing about how difficult it is to conduct research both at the preclinical and clinical level when we work with rare disorders and with rare populations because the number of patients, fortunately, is limited. And so I strongly encourage her that we should expand, she should expand her studies also to the United States. And why not at Boston Children's Hospital? That is a site where many, many rare disorders are studied. However, to do that, we needed some equipment. And as I said, I work using mainly EEG recordings, not the fNIRS. And so we needed some support. And that's where the ACD help us, because we were very, very lucky after explaining to them that we could do the same work that Laura was doing in Italy at BCH, only if we could acquire the equipment. And thanks to the ACD and the Ludwig Family Foundation, we got it. And that's the package that arrived at BCH and arrived last January, at the end of January, when Laura traveled to Boston and helped us to unpack and set up the system. We were lucky to secure a room that was dedicated specifically for the recordings. We set up in a welcoming way, so with stickers, and so the kids are welcome and feel not threatened when they come to undergo recordings. During this period, we also was February, and we celebrate for the first time, for me at least, the CCDS day at BCH through an event that was hybrid, so it was between some researchers and faculties were in presence, so we discussed, Heidi was there, and we were able to measure also her daughter. I think the very first subject was a little bit illegal, but we wanted to see that the system was working, and here is the picture with our team for the recording, but also with Dr. Mustafa Sahin, who is now the chair of neurology. So between February and then July, we submitted an IRB to get approval to conduct our work and to conduct our recording, not just in the BCH, but also outside the hospital in maybe location where more patients would gather. And the first opportunity was at Salt Lake City for the symposium for CCDs, where we were super lucky to set up a room. We tried to do our best to set up a room as close as possible as our recording room and BCH. I would say we were partially successful because we had to be quite creative, but we brought our stickers, we got some boards, and we made an environment that was, I believe, welcoming for the kids, so much that we were successful in recording many of them. And we basically set up every day in the morning, in the afternoon, a couple in the morning, a couple in the afternoon. The kids will come, habituated to a little bit adjusted to the room, and then be set up for the recording with the CAP and their video. And thanks to that work, we recorded on, I think, around 22 subjects between controls, CTDs participant, and GAMT subject. And the result was quite astonishing. This is preliminary. The numbers are still low, and yet you can see the blue lines, the top row represent the neurotypical control subject, very similar to what Laura had just shown you, where there is a response to the visual stimuli, the checkerboard that you have seen, but definitely is much, much smaller than the response that instead was recorded in the CTD subject, where you see a much higher and enhanced signal, similar to the preliminary data collected in Italy and similar to what we see in the animal models. An additional point is the bottom row. Those are subjects that are carrying a mutation for GAMT, but have been treated, fortunately, relatively early in life. So their phenotype is either neurotypical or close to that. And in fact, their signal, to our surprise, to our positive surprise, is that the signal is very similar to the neurotypical, suggesting together all this result that the fNIRS, the functional fNIRS, is a reliable and sensitive biomarker that can track the disorder, but also intervention, because, as I said, the GAMT are subjects who are being treated. Again, the numbers are relatively small, so what we need now, we need more patients enrolled. And we need to be sure that if we measure twice, the result is the same, so test and retest reliability. And so for this reason, we are asking to you families to spread the word and take in consideration if you would like to participate in our study. In this case, you will be contacted by our study coordinator, Adeline Jean-Baptiste. She was with us in Salt Lake City, and she can share with you all the information needed for you to fully understand what's going on and feel an informed consent. In any time and that you decide not to, you're not anymore interested in, you can tell us and we stop. We don't bother you at all. If you choose to enroll your child or your son or your daughter, right now we are enrolling, so we started just with boys, but now we are enrolling boys and girls. We will coordinate, our study coordinator, Adeline, will schedule with you the when you will come to BCH, at what time, when will be most convenient for you. Before you arrive, we will ask you to send us information about what your kid likes to watch. It can be anything, can be Harry Potter, can be Bluey, I think is one of the cartoons that we have seen a lot. It can be dancing, can be a movie that you have made. As long as it's long, at least 10 minutes, for us is okay. Because we will take, so we need that in advance. It cannot be the day of the testing, because we need to take the video, manipulate a little bit, and insert inside the stimulus. So it requires for us a little bit of time to work on it. In the end, you will be your kids will be choosing the video by himself or herself. You can send also us 2 or 3 videos, so he will have also a choice. One more thing that we really need that has to be precise is the head circumference, because we have to put a cap on the head, and if it's too big, the sensor will not connect to the skull. If it's too tight, it will be very uncomfortable. And so we will ask you to measure the head circumference and give us that number so we can prepare the cap for that day. And because it takes a little bit of time for adjusting from one cap to the next, we will prefer to know in advance. If you do a mistake and the head circumference is not correct, do not worry. We stop and we will reset the cap, so no problem. To travel to Boston, in the winter it's cold, okay? So maybe you do not want to come in January, February. However, Boston is a quite beautiful city, and we were very, very lucky to receive funding very recently from the Mooney Family Initiative to cover your travel. So we are able to pay your travel by airplane or by train or car, and then 1 to 2 nights in the hotel. Our funding are not unlimited, and so we would prefer if one kid comes with one parent, but if you cannot travel in that arrangement, we are okay to cover for 2 parents or 2 caregivers with your kids. Where will you stay? Usually we recommend that we have an agreement with the Hilton Garden Inn at Boston Brookline. It's a new hotel. Heidi can tell you more details about it because she stayed there with her family. I think it works well, and it's a walking distance, 15 minutes from the site, the room, the building where we are at this moment recording the NIRS. This is you can take an Uber. It's 5 minutes, maybe $5, $8, and we can reimburse that as well. Or you can take a walk if it's not too cold. It's just at the end of the street. We are planning to move from that location across, actually from the Hilton Hotel, would be a 2 Brookline Place. That would make the life of everybody much easier, but we don't know at the moment when that relocation will take place. So for now, the site is at 1 Autumn Street, and 1 Autumn Street is actually located. Can you go to the next? I can tell. It's actually located very close to the medical school and also to Brookline, that is a nice village close to the hospital. There are many, many restaurants and many attractions. If the weather is nice, you can just walk around and you can even go to the to see a baseball games. I know Laura was unable to put in the map, but it's not so far away from there. There is a lot of attraction and it's a nice area. So we will try to make your experience as comfortable as possible. And anything you can tell us to make that happen, we will make. So this is a room where when you arrive at 1 Autumn Street, you take the elevator, you go to the 3rd floor, and then at the end of the corridor, there is this waiting room where we can relax and adjust. And the parents can stay here or come with the kids if you want. If you bring siblings, they can stay here and play. We have toys and we have also some games. In this room, we will also fill the informed consent if you have not done in advance. And here there is a short video that we recorded just to show you how a session will work.
Welcome to our lab. We are inviting you to come to our lab and watch cartoons together. It'll be a lot of fun. We will use a special cap to understand if you like the cartoons you are watching. First, it will take a couple of minutes to fit the cap properly. We will take a few minutes to adjust the cap. Please be patient and keep watching your favorite cartoon.
This is Adeline, who's working
We'll wear a
always
second
helping.
cap to protect the first cap from extra light. Okay, now let's turn off the lights. One of your caregivers will be next to you the entire time. It is important that you always look at the screen and stay nice and still. Make sure you don't move. Sometimes you will see a funny checkerboard or hear a tone. Don't worry, just keep watching the screen and enjoy the cartoon. Each cartoon will last around 10 minutes, followed by a short break. During the entire session, you will watch 3 videos. If you prefer, you can choose any of your favorite movies, cartoons, or YouTube videos. Join us to watch your favorite cartoon. We'll be waiting for you.
So this is actually the room where we are doing the things. Of course, the subject is not a toy, it's your son or daughter, but pretty much that's what will happen. You will arrive, we will escort to the room, make it comfortable, sitting, and then proceed with wearing the cap. The first cap, tested if the connection are okay, turn off the light, and then start the recording. The second cap is just a shower cap, and we actually encourage you to practice doing that type of maneuver and procedures. So maybe wearing a hat and then on top of that the shower cap, because that will become less of a stress for your son or daughter when they come, because you have done already. And if you can try to make it as a game, that's always work at best. So before the testing, again, we would like you to stress that this is going to be fun, really fun. And we are a team of superhero working together to defeat the bad disorder. And we encourage to, again, choose a movie that you really like and maybe let them really enjoy and associate good emotion to that. And then, as I said already, they wear the shower cap. That I think of all the things is maybe the most annoying for some kids. The day of the testing, please remind that we are going to watch a movie with fun people, and it's going to be a super fun one more time. And yes, the hair should be down for the session and not tight. Short hair is always better than longer hair, but we will work with whatever we can. And then in the room is not so big, and we already have to be 2, if not 3 person helping for the recording. So we ask only 1 parent or siblings to stay in the room with us. We want to keep your son or daughter as calm as possible. So if it's necessary that you stay by the side or holding hand, we will let you do. But if it's not necessary, then it's better if the participant is alone watching the video. And then, of course, it would be better if the participant arrives not too tired, not too hungry, maybe goes to the bathroom before. And so the 20 minutes, I would say that the session lasts, the recording is 10 minutes, but from starting to end is 20, 25 minutes. It's better if it doesn't need to go to the bathroom, and it's focusing just on this task, watching a video. So why do we want to do this? As we said, we want to develop a biomarker for the disorder that is reliable and quantitative and objective, but also we would like to correlate the signal collected from the fNIRS, from the functional fNIRS, with other measures that are conducted and collected in the subject, and those are both cognitive and behavioral assessment that all the individuals with CCDS undergo. And so we will collect additional information, the demographic data, the medical history, the genetic results, and also we will ask to the parents or the caregivers to complete a few questionnaires that are the Vineland, maybe you have done already, the aberrant behavior checklist, and the sensory profiles caregiver child, that SP2. And this will give us additional information about your children and will allow us to make a correlation, see if there is any correlation with this evaluation with the fNIRS. Okay, we, as I mentioned very, very briefly before, we want to be sure that what we record is a true signal and is a stable signal. And so because of that, we will ask for a second visit. So we will record at time 0, and then an interval of 8 to 12 weeks after the first visit, we will ask you to come back. And we will repeat exactly the same things. And our hope is to see that the signal stays stable. And so that will allow us also to be utilizing this information for studies that can be conducted at one point, but then an intervention is done maybe 3 months later. We want to be sure that we don't have to repeat many times, and we want to repeat only before and after. But we know that before and after, if in the middle there is a treatment and there is, let's say, an improvement, is not due to a signal that is unstable, but is because the intervention was working. Okay. So many parents usually ask, what are the benefits if I do this project for my own child? There is no direct benefit for your child in this moment. You are participating to a study and you are contributing to advanced science. And you are contributing to help arriving to a moment when we will have a treatment and we could measure the efficacy of such treatment. Of course, everybody wants a treatment that turns white to black or black to white, but I can tell you it's difficult to get that. And so we want some biomarkers that are sensitive and that can really detect any change introduced by any treatment. And this is why we're doing this, okay? You will receive, your kids will receive $50 credit card, and it's not a lot, but is a little token of appreciation. And so that's what you're going to get, and a badge of honor, I would say. And I just want to thank you, because without you, nothing could be possible. And really, again, thank you for welcoming us with your family, to your families. And here is Israel, who just received the fellowship from the CD. I really want to thank you. Israel is an MD from Ethiopia who joined my lab recently and was before in Italy and was trained by Laura to record the functional NIRS. And then Edeline, who helped us from the very beginning, wrote the IRB, traveled with us to Salt Lake City. And I want to stress that traveling to Salt Lake City was not that easy because we had to carry everything, okay? Big bags, very heavy, that we could not put under the belly of the airplane because it was so, it was our equipment, $50,000 equipment. And so, and then this is Luca, my son, who was recently volunteers for the $50 gift card to be a control subject. And he was quite happy. He said, oh, I watched Harry Potter, it was really fun. So if he tolerate that, I think everybody can tolerate this one. And we are here for any question for you. And if we cannot answer to all your questions, because maybe you are just watching this video that was recorded tonight, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are always available. I put in the chat the email of Edeline, but my email is also available. It's my first name dot my last name at childrens.harvard.edu. And thank you again.
Thank you, Laura and Michela. That was wonderful, and such a good experience at the symposium for our children. We had great feedback, and you didn't mention, and I think it's really comforting to the parents to know how well the kids did in Salt Lake City, because it is a little intimidating. You hear you need to sit still and keep looking at the movie, and I think a lot of parents were like, I don't know if my children can do this. So how did they do?
They did fantastic. Honestly, everybody was so concerned about, we don't know if they will do. We didn't have, I think we didn't fail for anyone. Everybody who came actually was able to go through the 10 minutes recording, and we got a good signal from everybody. Of course, every time a child comes to us, we know that every child is different. So we spend the time to adjust, to know each other. We are not rushing. This point I did not actually say, but every recording will be every day, one day, one visit. So we will not have more than one patient, one participant per day. And so if you come at 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. and your child is not ready to be recorded, we stop, we wait. There is no rush. We are here just for you, okay? You are making the effort to come to Boston. We make the effort. We are all for you. And again, if we familiarize and we play together and we do as a game, kids actually respond very well. In Salt Lake City, really, and I remember that at the beginning, oh, maybe we will not have many, and then people kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And so I think that even the voice among the family move around in a positive way, because there was more interest and the people were coming, oh, I want to see what is going on. Again, yeah, we will make everything possible to make it as a positive experience.
Yeah, that gives me a good idea. If a parent is wondering about this and how did it go and will my child, you could ask in the support group, because there were a lot of parents that even we had signed up a certain number, and then like you said, more people were like, hey, I want to do that. I didn't sign up, but I want to do it. And I think if we ask in the support group, other families will tell you how great it was. But sorry, Laura, I interrupted you.
No problem. I wanted just to stress that the recording will last 10 minutes, and during these 10 minutes, the checkerboard will appear 20 times. Although it would be ideal, of course, that each participant can watch to the screen all the times, so that we can average the signal for every single presentation. This is not so important because we are basically taking notes of the trials where we had good fixation and the trials where the fixation was not good. So we can exclude the trial with no good fixation from the analysis. So basically, even if you can look to, let's say, an half of the presentation is okay. So no stress at all, no performance needed, because
Yeah.
just
And
the feedback would be good.
I want to stress that because sometimes, honestly, the kids are relaxed and participate if you, the primary caregiver, are relaxed. If you become anxious, they are anxious. Okay, so really, if you are okay and the kids, again, they don't watch, it's okay. We mark that time that they are turning around as a no. Of course, if you become all the time, we maybe, okay, let's stop and restart. But again, we didn't do that for, no, I think everybody, I think on average, we had 10 to 15 good trials out of 20. And so I think it was very, very good.
When do you hope to start having families come to Boston?
We are ready anytime. We are ready to receive people because the funding. And actually, I wanted to say something about the traveling coverage because we have the funding. We can buy for you the airline ticket, so you don't have to pay in advance, and we can pay also the hotel for you in advance. So it's not wait for the family. Sometimes can be challenging, to pay $1,000 or so. The hotels are expensive in Boston and so on. So what we are not able to cover is the food. So your meals are up on your own.
Okay. I'm trying to think of what other questions. Do you have to live in the US?
No, you don't. You don't. For us, everybody's welcome. And again, we have a budget, is not infinite. So if you travel from far away, it's going to be more expensive than if you travel from the city next to Boston. But we can cover also long distance trip.
So the sooner that you were to sign up, the more likely you are to still have funding to enroll people. And if someone wants to sign up right now, but they want to wait until maybe May when school is getting let out, so it's easier, is that okay?
Yes, that's totally fine. If for us, again, because we want to do one recording per day and dedicate as much attention as possible and support, probably we will not schedule 10 people for a week. Okay, it will be one day and then maybe one day nothing and then one day and so on. So the weather in Boston becomes nicer, let's say April, May. With the marathon day, it's sometimes a miss of heat, hit or miss, but the weather starts to be nicer. Okay, so I will strongly encourage April, May, June, July, August. July, August are good months because also there is less traffic and less chaos around the medical school because it's the summer. Okay. Yeah. So between April to September is a good period, but any time is convenient for you families. For us is okay.
Okay.
We can also work on Saturday and Sundays, I want to say. Okay. Adeline is flexible, the same Israel. we try to make as easy as possible for the families.
Great. Well, I don't see any other questions, and I'm very excited about this. I think our community knows we're really hoping to move closer to treatments, and we're doing all we can to prepare with the core outcome set and what the appropriate measures are for measuring those outcomes, and this just ties in so nicely to encourage and validate a measure that would be so easy to obtain as a shower cap and not an sedation and all of that. So I'm very excited about this, and I think it's amazing what you're doing, and I'm so happy that females are invited to participate and excited for the data that you will find from that. And so thank you.
Sorry, Heidi. One other things we didn't say is that if you have siblings and they're traveling with you, we can record them as controls. And they will also get the $50 gift card.
Are you funding their airline ticket for the sibling, or is it?
I think we can. Okay.
Okay. Great. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions, and we're excited to share this out with the whole community, and hopefully you will get flooded with emails and get all booked up. So
yes,
thank
spread
you.
the word.
We will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a lovely weekend, everybody.